Good evening and welcome. Tonight I'm going to be reading to you from this book about Chile. Let me show you what we're going to read tonight. We're going to read this closer look at Chile section. So we're going to read Astronomy, the Atacama Desert, Chiloway Island, Copper, Cueca, the National Dance, Easter Island, Endangered Wildlife, Environmental Issues, the Mapuches, Pablo Neruda, Bernardo O'Higgins, Popular Beverages, Valparaiso, War of the Pacific, and the Women of Chile. So let's just dive right in. Starting off with astronomy. Northern Chile is home to world-class astronomy facilities. With its clear skies and low humidity, this region's weather is ideal for astronomy. Many high-powered telescopes are located in this part of the country, and Chile has the most number of observatories south of the equator. Astronomical development. In the 1960s, several international scientific institutions came to the southern hemisphere to study the previously unexplored skies. International institutions, such as the European Southern Observatory, or ESO, and Association of Universities for Research in Astronomy, Inc., or AURA, sent researchers to the region north of Santiago to find suitable sites. Soon, observatories were built at La Silla in the Andes, Cerro Tololo, and Las Campanas. Today, two of the world's most ambitious astronomy projects are under development in Chile's Atacama Desert. The Atacama Large Millimeter Array, or ALMA, near Cerro Cajanantor, and the Very Large Telescope, or VLT, in Cerro Paranal. Both projects are being carried out by the ESO. The highly sensitive VLT will be able to capture images that are as far as 1.3 billion light years away. This will allow astronomers to observe faraway galaxies that are hidden by thick curtains of dust particles and calculate the moment when the first light appeared in the universe. Chilean research and brown dwarfs. Since the mid-1990s, an agreement between the government and international observatories in Chile has guaranteed local astronomers regular access to these facilities. 10% of all observatory time is reserved for Chilean scientists. Such a measure has greatly increased Chilean astronomy research. One of Chile's most renowned astronomers is Maria Teresa Ruiz. She has worked in several North American and European universities and is an astronomy lecturer in the University of Chile. In 1997, Ruiz became the first astronomer to receive Chile's Presidential Science Prize. That year, Ruiz discovered a brown dwarf, which is a star that does not generate heat or light, near our solar system. Next we have the Atacama Desert. Located predominantly in the Antofagasta and Atacama regions of northern Chile, the Atacama Desert stretches south 600 to 700 miles from the Peruvian border. Flanked by the Andes Mountains to the east and coastal mountains to the west, the Atacama Desert is located next to the Pacific Ocean. Ocean currents keep clouds just off the coast, so most rain falls into the nearby ocean. Although these currents bring fog to the desert receives little or no rain. As a result, the Atacama Desert is one of the driest deserts in the world. A disputed region, due to the area's rich source of minerals, notably sodium nitrate. The Atacama Desert was the center of various conflicts among Chile, Bolivia, and Peru throughout the 19th century. At this time, most of the area belonged to Bolivia and Peru, but the companies mining the deposits were Chilean. Conflict over the ownership of these minerals led to the War of the Pacific, from which Chile gained control of the entire area. The Chinchorro and their mummies. The earliest known settlers in the Atacama Desert were the Chinchorro, a fishing community that lived along a stretch of the coastline running from southern Peru to Antofagasta in northern Chile. Scientists and archaeologists believe these people moved into the area more than 9,000 years ago. Although little is known about the Chinchorro's daily life, the people are known to have practiced elaborate methods of preserving their dead. Scientists uncovered the first Chinchorro cemetery in 1983 and have since established that the Chinchorro mummies are the oldest mummies in the world. Around 7,000 years ago, the Chinchorro began producing what are known as black mummies, bodies that were mummified and then painted with a layer of black manganese. This process changed over time, and red paint replaced black paint. A special feature of Chinchorro mummification was that this custom was not reserved for people of high rank or status. Everyone was mummified, regardless of gender, age, or social status. About 282 Chinchorro mummies have been uncovered in the Atacama Desert. Surely that number is high by now. This is a pretty old book. Next is Chiloway Island. Chiloway Island is located off the coast of southern Chile. Stretching for 112 miles from north to south, Chiloway Island is the second largest island in South America after Argentina's Tierra del Fuego. The South Panamericana Highway, which extends from the town of Putre at the northern tip of Chile, links Chiloway Island to the mainland. On this highway route, the closest mainland town to Chiloway Island is Puerto Montt. Coastal ranges on Chiloway Island divide the island lengthwise. Because of these mountains, the island has two distinct climatic environments. The side that faces the Pacific Ocean experiences stormy conditions with heavy rain and strong winds. Sheltered by the mountains, the other side of Chiloway Island has much more pleasant weather. Hold on, my cat's snoring. Can you hear him? Let me wake him up a tiny bit. Okay. I always feel so bad waking him up, but he snores so loud. Okay. And now Rooster's crowing, of course. It got way too loud in here. But let's keep reading. Before the Spanish settled on Chiloway Island in 1567, the only inhabitants on the island were native Indians, who tended to be either Mapuche, Huilliches, Chonos, or Caucahues. Following Spanish occupation, Chiloway Island was cut off from the Chilean mainland for more than 250 years. The last of the Spanish forces left the island in 1826 after their defeat in Ancud, a town at the northern tip of Chiloway Island. Today, a large part of the island's population is of mixed Spanish and native Indian ancestry. Most of the inhabitants are devout Catholics. That's a loud one. Their way of life is well adapted to the maritime environment, with many houses built on stilts high above the water. Local handicrafts include various wooden or stone artifacts and high-quality hand-loomed wool textiles. The churches of Chiloway. Chiloway Island has 150 churches, which are magnificent structures that combine European architectural styles with indigenous building techniques. Many of these churches are made of wood and 8 of them are listed as Chilean national monuments. The church in the town of Achao, I don't know, has been marked by the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, or UNESCO, as a heritage building. After years of neglect and decay, the island's churches are now being restored. Copper. About 30% of the world's copper reserves are located in Chile, the world's largest producer of copper. Northern Chile is home to some of the world's largest copper mines, including Escondida and Chuquicamata. 40% of the world's annual copper production takes place in Chile. In 2000, Chile produced 4.5 million tons of copper. Economic bonus. The Chilean economy has relied heavily on copper production for nearly 200 years. In the early 19th century, Chile's vast copper reserves attracted a large number of British and American foreign investors. In 1835, the foreign companies exported as much as 12,700 tons of copper, which were sold mainly to the United States. For more than a century, Chile's copper industry had been controlled by foreign mining companies. In 1951, an agreement signed in Washington gave the Chilean government 20% of the annual amount of copper produced in the country. From the 1950s to the 1960s, the Chilean government increased its control over the country's copper industry by implementing new laws. By 1971, the Chilean government had declared that the assets of all foreign companies that were involved in copper production were to become state property. Established in 1976, state-owned National Copper Corporation of Chile, or Codelco Chile, enjoyed a monopoly over the country's copper industry until the early 1990s. Today, multinational mining giant BHP Billiton owns 57.5% of Escondida, the largest copper mine in Chile. An environmental hazard. In the early 1990s, local farmers and fishermen in the Port Caldera region launched a combined lawsuit against Codelco for seriously damaging the environment. The company's operations in the area had been releasing large amounts of carbon monoxide and arsenic into the air at water sources. The furnaces at Chuquicamata, formerly Chile's largest mine, were closed for the month of July in 1994 to comply with environmental regulations. Cueca, the national dance. A lively, fast-paced dance, the cueca is the national dance of Chile. Although the dance has been performed since the days of Spanish colonialism, it did not become the national dance until 1979. The origins of the dance are uncertain. Some believe that the dance is of African or Indian origin, while others argue that the roots of the dance are distinctly European. Traditionally, the cueca was performed in the Chilean countryside before the popularity spread throughout the country. A vigorous dance. The cueca is essentially a courtship dance that is performed by a couple. The dance begins with the man approaching the woman and offering his arm. The woman rises and accompanies him on a brief stroll. They then face one another, each with a handkerchief in hand, and begin to dance. The first steps are very calculated and calm. The couple dance separately but never lose eye contact. The couple wave the handkerchiefs as they dance around each other. As the dance progresses, the steps of the male dancer become more and more complicated as he picks up speed. The dance ends when the man, with one knee on the ground, places his arm around his partner. The movements of the dance have been likened to the courtship ritual between a rooster and a hen. The performers dance to the musical accompaniment of singing and instruments such as the guitarrón, accordion, and harp. Hand clapping and loud cheers from the audience add to the excitement of the dance and encourage the dancers. Although the dance steps differ from region to region, Chileans regard the cueca as a celebratory dance that is performed at special occasions, such as national holidays. A protest dance. A distinct version of the cueca has emerged in recent years. As a form of protest against the military government of the 1970s and 1980s, Chilean women perform the cueca without partners, and sometimes with photos pinned to their clothing to highlight the disappearance of their loved ones during General Pinochet's rule. Easter Island. One of the world's most remote inhabited islands, Easter Island, is located in the eastern Pacific Ocean, 2,300 miles west of Chile. Named Easter Island by the Dutch, who were the first Europeans to discover the island in 1722, the island has been a dependency of Chile since 1888. With a land area of 45 square miles, Easter Island is 14 miles long and 7 miles wide. The island has a distinct triangular shape because it is formed by 3 extinct volcanoes. Easter Island has a subtropical climate and an average monthly temperature of 62 to 73 degrees Fahrenheit. The island receives about 49 inches of rain each year. Rainfall occurs mainly in June and July, while September is the driest month. For most of the year, trade winds from the east and southeast sweep across the island. Few indigenous animals and plants are found on the island, although yams, sweet potatoes, and sugarcane, all of which were introduced by settlers, abound. The Islanders. Approximately 2,000 people live on Easter Island, the majority of whom are Polynesian. As a result, the island's culture is predominantly Polynesian, despite a growing Chilean presence. Most of the island's population lives in Hongoroa, which is located on the west coast, and the Moai. Easter Island is world famous for its mysterious giant stone statues, or moai. Built between the years 700 and 1600 by the island's early inhabitants, these enormous statues are widely believed to be representations of the islanders' sacred chiefs and gods. Carved from soft volcanic rock in the island's quarries, the statues range from 10 to 40 feet in height. These were then placed on large stone platforms. Once erected, huge oval eye cavities and red tuff were added to the statues. Today, more than 600 moai are scattered throughout the island, and most can be found in Rapa Nui National Park. Covering 70% of the island, the park was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1995. Endangered Wildlife. The southern Pudu. With a shoulder length of 14 to 18 inches and weighing approximately 13 to 30 pounds, the southern Pudu, or Pudu, is the world's smallest deer. The animal has short, thick legs, a low-slung body, slender hooves, small and rounded ears, and small eyes. Male southern Pudu grow spike antlers that eventually reach between 2 and 4 inches in length when they reach 7 years. A female southern Pudu usually has a single fawn that stays with its mother for 8 to 12 months. Once it reaches adulthood, the southern Pudu tends to live alone. mainly active at dawn and dusk or during the night. The animal eats shrubs, leaves, bark, fruits, and berries. Due to its physical build, the southern pudu can easily move through dense vegetation to escape predators. Its main predators include pumas, foxes, and dogs. When pursued, the southern pudu runs in a zigzag pattern and sometimes climbs trunks that lean over streams to escape the predator. And there it is, so cute. Not so cute, but a very important animal. The Andean Condor. Found at high elevations in the Andes Mountains, the Andean Condor, or Vultur gryphus, is one of the largest flying land birds in the world. The bird, however, has been an endangered species since the 1970s. The Andean condor has glossy black plumage with patches of white on its wings and a white ruff around its neck. Its head is featherless, and the male bird has a fleshy comb or bump on its forehead. Weighing 24 to 33 pounds, the adult male Andean condor is heavier than its female counterpart. The bird can have a wingspan reaching 12 feet, allowing it to glide effortlessly for hundreds of miles. The Andean condor eats carrion, or dead flesh, although it has also been known to eat newborn or sick animals. The bird uses both its beak and feet to tear the flesh of its prey rather than kill it. With its excellent eyesight, the Andean condor is able to spot from the air prey that are miles away. Andean condors usually live in pairs. The female lays one egg every 2 years on open ground, on a ledge, or in a cave. That's probably why they're endangered. Both the female and male bird look after the fledgling until it is ready to fend for itself about 180 days after it has hatched. Environmental issues. Air pollution is one of the chief environmental problems in Chile, especially in the capital city. This has created a large hole in the ozone layer, which poses a threat to Chileans, especially those living in the south. Causes of Santiago's air pollution. Industrial activity and emissions from automobiles are the major causes behind air pollution in Chile. Today, Santiago, with almost 1 million private vehicles in use, has the most severe air pollution in the country. Even though the city's emission level for pollutants is not drastically higher than in other cities, pollutants often become trapped around Santiago because it is situated in a valley between the coastal ranges and the Andes Mountains. Air pollution endangers the health of Santiago's residents, at times resulting in severe lung diseases. Many children and adults alike suffer from asthma, a medical condition that causes breathing difficulties. A thinning ozone layer. The layer of ozone in the atmosphere protects Earth's surface from harmful ultraviolet rays. Excessive pollution reduces the ozone layer and sometimes creates a hole in this protective shield. Over the skies of southern Chile, as a result of global air pollution, is a gaping hole in the ozone layer. Ultraviolet rays can cause skin cancer, which can be fatal. Close to Antarctica, the Chilean town of Punta Arenas is directly beneath the ozone hole. To avoid the potentially harmful rays, the residents of Punta Arenas are advised to stay indoors during the late mornings and early afternoons. When in the sun, residents wear protective clothing to avoid the ultraviolet rays. The measures taken. The Chilean government is now trying to reduce the number of vehicles in Santiago. On July 5, 2002, during a severe smog, about 2,500 factories were ordered to temporarily cease operation, while more than 250,000 motorists had to stay off the roads in the capital. In 1998, in collaboration with the U.S. Department of Energy's Clean Cities program, Chile made plans to build a fleet of buses that run on natural gas. The government is also making efforts to relocate factories in order to reduce the pollution in Santiago. The Mapuches. The Mapuches were the largest group of Araucanian Indians native to Chile and Argentina. Before the arrival of the Spaniards in 1541, almost 2 million Mapuche people inhabited the southern half of Chile and Argentina. Today, about 10% of the Chilean population identify themselves as Mapuches. 300 years of resistance. In the mid-1500s, Pedro de Valdivia and his men met with fierce native resistance when they tried to move southward from the Biobío River into the area where the Araucanians lived. The Araucanians collectively organized their military against this potential foreign threat. Under the leadership of Lautaro, a Mapuche chief, the native inhabitants successfully defeated de Valdivia's forces in a 1553 battle in which de Valdivia was killed. At one point, the powerful Araucanians came close to destroying the Spanish colony of Santiago. Territorial conflict did not cease for the next 3 centuries. In the early 1800s, when Spain lost its colonies in South America, newly established Argentine and Chilean states began to take over the Araucanian territory. The displaced Araucanians were forced to stay in reservations. Contemporary Mapuches. When the Mapuches were put in reservations, they farmed the land which they owned collectively. In the 1980s, however, the Chilean government gave land ownership to individuals in the reservations. Because the new landowners did not practice highly competitive methods of farming, they often incurred debt and eventually lost their land. Today, the traditional Mapuche way of life is disappearing. Development, such as the construction of highways, threatens to displace the remaining Mapuche communities, and many of them have lost their ancestral homes. The present-day Mapuche has to move to other parts of the country in search of residence and work. Nonetheless, international organizations consistently work to protect the rights of displaced Mapuches. Comité Exterior Mapuche, or CEM, I hope that's how you say that, was set up in 1978 and replaced by the Mapuche International Link, or MIL, in 1996. The MIL has departments that monitor issues such as human rights and education of Mapuches in Chile and other parts of the world. Pablo Neruda. Pablo Neruda was a Chilean poet and diplomat. Born Neftali Ricardo Reyes Paso Alto in Parral, Chile, Neruda spent his childhood and youth in Temuco, where he met Gabriela Mistral, another famous Chilean writer. Neruda started writing articles for newspapers at the age of 13 and adopted the pen name Pablo Neruda in 1920 when he wrote in the literary journal Selva Austral. He took the name Neruda from the Czechoslovak poet Jan Neruda, who was an active promoter of Czech patriotism. Neruda's first collection of poems, Crepusculario, was published in Spanish in 1923. In the next year, Neruda published 20 love poems and a song of despair. Neruda's political and literary career. Neruda took an early interest in politics. When he turned 23, the Chilean government made him an honorary consul and sent him to various parts of the world, including Buenos Aires, Barcelona, Burma, and Java. From the 1940s, many of Neruda's works reflected the political struggle of the socialists in South America. He is also known for his touching love poems, especially those from 100 Love Sonnets. Some of them were dedicated to his wife, Matilda Urrutia. Among his other books were Residence on Earth, written in South Asia, and Canto General, an epic work that chronicles South America's social history. In 1945, Neruda joined the Communist Party in Chile and was elected senator. In 1947, he opposed President González Videla's harsh treatment of strikers and trade unions and went into exile until 1952. Within these 5 years, Neruda lived with his wife Matilda in various parts of Europe and also on Chile's Isla Negra. There he wrote Memorial de Isla Negra, a 5-volume autobiography that was published on his 60th birthday. In 1950, Neruda received the International Peace Prize. He was also awarded the Stalin Prize and the Lenin Peace Prize in 1953. From 1971 to 1972, at the time of Salvador Allende's Marxist regime, Neruda served as Chile's ambassador to France. When he was diagnosed with cancer in 1972, Neruda resigned. He passed away in Santiago on September 23, 1973. Bernardo O'Higgins. Through dedication and perseverance, Bernardo O'Higgins helped win Chile's independence from Spain in 1817. He became the country's first head of state, or supreme director. Since then, he has been considered the founding father of Chile. Believed to have been born on August 20th, 1778, O'Higgins grew up in the southern Chilean town of Chillán. He was the son of Ambrosio O'Higgins, governor of Chile and later viceroy of Peru. After studying in Peru and Spain, O'Higgins traveled to London to continue his education. While in London, he came into contact with a group of political activists, all of whom were dedicated to the independence of Latin America. Through these associations, O'Higgins developed a deep sense of national pride in Chile. Chile's path toward independence began in 1808, when Francis Napoleon I invaded Spain. Concerned about its own defense, Spain left Chile and its other colonies uncontrolled. On September 18, 1810, a national junta was established in Santiago, and by 1811, Chile had its own Congress, of which O'Higgins was a member. In 1814, Peruvian-led forces invaded Chile to re-establish royal authority. During this time, O'Higgins rose through the military ranks to become general-in-chief of the opposition forces. After his defeat by royalist troops in October 1814, O'Higgins fled to Argentina. With the support of Argentine General José de San Martín, O'Higgins returned to Chile to defeat the Spanish in 1817. Supreme Director. O'Higgins was elected Supreme Director in February 1817. As Supreme Director, he set about creating a new government, laid the grounds for peace and order, and built a strong navy. He also introduced economic and social reforms aimed at modernizing the newly founded independent state. These reforms, however, antagonized the Roman Catholic Church as well as Chilean aristocrats. The lack of widespread support for his policies led to his forced resignation in 1823. O'Higgins lived in exile in Peru until his death in 1842. popular beverages. In Chile, festivities are often accompanied by traditional drinks. For instance, on Independence Day, a toast is never complete without chicha. The early chicha drinkers were the Incas from Peru, who used fermented corn and water. In Chile, chicha is a fermented fruit juice and can be made from grapes, apples, or any other fruit. Pisco. A popular beverage in Chile, Pisco is consumed on special occasions as well as on a regular basis, all the time apparently. Aside from Chileans, Peruvians also enjoy this drink. The alcohol used in Pisco is distilled from white muscat grapes that are grown in the area around Valle de Rio Elqui in central Chile and also in Pisco, Peru. Chilean and Peruvian wine producers have a long history of disputes over which country originated the word Pisco. A Christmas drink. Another special drink is cola de mono, a milk punch that is traditionally consumed during the Christmas season. The name translates to mean monkey's tail. Served chilled, cola de mono is a delightful mixture of coffee, milk, eggs, vanilla, and aguardiente, or alcohol that is made from grain. A stick of cinnamon is sometimes added to give that extra flavor. I guess it's like a Chilean eggnog in a way. Chilean wine. The best Chilean wines come from vineyards in the Central Valley. Grapevines thrive under the climate in this area, where seasons are defined and temperatures vary sharply. Temperatures vary sharply between day and night. Oh, very sharply, not VERY. And temperatures vary sharply between day and night. Because of its fine taste, Chilean wines are becoming very popular and are exported to countries such as Canada, the United States, Japan, and the United Kingdom. Agüita. After meals, Chileans may enjoy a hot cup of agüita. Traditionally consumed for its medicinal purposes, agüitas are herbal teas that are mixed with a wide variety of other herbs, such as basil, mint, and thyme. Citrus fruits such as lemons and oranges are also popular additions. The ingredients are steeped in hot water and sometimes sugar is added to sweeten the brew. Valparaiso. Valparaiso is a city north of Santiago and is part of the Valparaiso region in Chile. Occupying an area of 6,193 square miles, Valparaiso is home to more than 290,000 residents. The city is 84 miles from Santiago. Birth of a city. In 1536, Spanish captain Juan de Saavedra anchored on the bay of Valparaiso to become the first Spaniard to visit the area. He named it Valparaiso after his birthplace in Spain. However, the settlement was only fully established after Pedro de Valdivia arrived there in 1544. Because of its strategic location, the city was a busy port during the 16th and the 17th centuries. Ships that headed for the Pacific Islands passed Cape Horn and stopped at Valparaiso to refuel and replenish supplies. In the 19th century, many merchants came from England, Germany, and France to establish trade. The first bank in Chile was located in Valparaiso. The city also opened the first public library in South America. A fascinating tourist spot. The city of Valparaiso sits on steep cliffs overlooking the picturesque bay. A unique system of transportation that consists of funicular elevators or cable railways brings the city's residents around the steep cliffs. From the banks and shops at the lower part of the city to the slums at its top, 15 funicular elevators link the different parts of the city. Some of these significant places in Valparaiso are the National Congress Building, the Naval and Maritime Museum, and the Municipal Theater. Previously situated in Santiago, the National Congress Building in Valparaiso was opened by Pinochet in 1990. A Gabriela Mistral Museum house was dedicated by the city to the outstanding writer in memory of her literary achievements. Chilean poet Pablo Neruda also had a house in Valparaiso, which is now a museum that exhibits some of his personal belongings. Today, Valparaiso is the largest seaport in South America and the terminal of the Trans-Andean Railway. The city manufactures textiles, leather goods, paint, and chemicals. Do you know what I'm thinking? See, the next one is the women one, right? Yeah, so this section's kind of like outdated in a way, so we're just going to finish on this one, I think that's for the best. Let's read about the War of the Pacific. By the mid-1800s, Chile was in debt because of its outstanding loans and costly imports. To clear its debts, the government turned to the valuable minerals in the Atacama Desert. Bolivia, however, also staked a claim to this area. In 1866 and 1874, the two states signed treaties that allowed both countries to mine the desert between the 23rd and 24th parallel south latitude without taxes imposed by either country. In 1879, Bolivia raised the taxes of Chilean mining companies in Tarapacá and Antofagasta, and also tried to monopolize the mining industry with neighboring country Peru. This led to the War of the Pacific. Battles and occupation. Chilean forces occupied the city of Antofagasta in 1879, which led to a declaration of war from Bolivia. Assisted by its ally Peru, the Bolivian troops faced the Chilean Navy in February 1879. Because of its well-organized navy, Chile emerged victorious from naval battles in the Bolivian coastal region. Chile then occupied the capital city of Peru, Lima, on January 17, 1881. This marked the beginning of Chile's 10-year occupation in Lima. In 1883, Peru and Chile came together to sign the Treaty of Ancón. The Peruvian province of Tarapacá and the Bolivian province of Antofagasta were ceded to Chile. In addition, the Chileans gained control of the nitrate exports. Victory over its neighbors gave Chile the new status of a superpower, both in terms of its military and its economy. The Esmeralda, which you can see up here. When the War of the Pacific began, the Chilean Navy only had 8 ships. The oldest was the Esmeralda, a wooden warship. At Iquique, Chilean Captain Arturo Prat Chacon commanded the Esmeralda and met 2 Peruvian warships. An intense battle began. The Esmeralda was outnumbered, but Pratt and his crew continued to fend off the attacks. At one point, Pratt fearlessly boarded one of the enemy's ships. He suffered 2 fatal bullet wounds and died, but the battle continued as the Chilean crew refused to surrender. After more than 3 hours of relentless fighting, the Esmeralda finally sank. The bravery of the captain and his crew is honored every year on the May 21st anniversary. So let's end there for tonight. Like I said, that section's really like, wow, women are getting more jobs. Isn't that great? Like, I'd hope so. Anyway, that's going to be it for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you found this video relaxing and educational. And I hope that you have a very good night. Good night.